Here's a story that begins once upon a time. Once upon a time, more than 2 years ago, I met a young woman who had a dream. And that dream was to start a farm and do most of the work on that farm with horses. And guess what? Country Dreams Farm is here, and it's been here, how long, Melissa?
Be 19 years this month.
Can't be possible.
It's
you
possible.
and I have known each other over 19 years.
Over, yeah.
And it's located on the Pellerin Road in the town of Beekmantown. Actually, the line's not even a mile down the road,
Right,
is it?
about half mile down the road.
Yeah, and the number is
260.
260 Pellerin Road. And I mention that, and I will reiterate that many times because this place is wide open for folks to come.
Absolutely.
And look around. I've been here telling ghost stories. Calvin and I, as a matter of fact, this place is so exciting it flipped Calvin right upside down one time as we took a ride with the horses and the team and the wagon. But it was a dream for you. Can you remember when you first got the idea of starting a horse farm?
Forever, since I was a little girl.
Really?
That's all I ever told my parents, my guidance counselors, my teachers. I was going to be a farmer.
But you liked horses always?
Yes, but I never had one till I left home.
Isn't that amazing?
I know.
I told Kay, my wife Kay, the other day, as I looked at a picture of your horses on Facebook, and I said, I want a horse. I haven't ever had a horse.
We can rig you up with one of those.
Oh, I know you could do that. I have lots of people who have horses and who would just love to take care of the horses for me, but it's a pleasure for me just to come here and look at your horses.
Well, I'm a horse lover completely.
Melissa, for those people who, Melissa Monty Provost is her name. It's a very highfalutin name.
Oh, yeah, highfalutin.
For a not very highfalutin young lady.
Definitely not highfalutin.
But it's amazing how this place happened. How did you find this property in the beginning?
I met a woman who said, I have a farm that we'd like to sell, and I came home and I said to my husband, geez, I met a woman today who has a farm that she'd like to sell. And he says, well, isn't that funny? He said, I was at an auction today and met a guy who said that he had a farm he'd like to sell. And so we compared notes, and it was the very same farm. And that was
serendipity. There it is again.
There you go. And that was almost 20 years ago. And took us a while, but anyways, we had a closing 19 years ago in September, and here I am today.
You've traveled all over the country to buy equipment.
Yes.
You and Mr. George. What's George's last name? I always
George
forget.
Weidel.
George Weidel.
Yeah, he does all the grunt work. We call him the crash test dummy because he trains all the horses. He takes the first ride on horses that are supposedly trained. He does all the grunt work. He tells me I write the checks, and I do get some say here, but he does the grunt work.
He's a pretty good blacksmith too.
He's a wonderful blacksmith. He's a wonderful horse trainer. Very, very creative. Any of the creative stuff you see around here is not my creation, it's his creation. I don't dream those kind of dreams necessarily. He dreams the creative stuff, and I just let him go.
A city boy.
City boy from New Jersey.
He looks like he came right out of the Ozarks, doesn't he?
He does. He absolutely does, and he has a rapport with the horses that even I don't have. And I was a country girl for all of my life, so I just let him take the lead and go for it. I manage the goats. He's not big into goats. I manage them. And the small animals, but he does all the big horses. He does all the hoof trimming here, all the training, all the building. When you see equipment here, he's probably built it. Any kind of play trinkets for the goats, and otherwise he's done it. He does it all.
You know, years ago, you decided to find a lot of horse-drawn equipment.
We did.
And you've traveled all over the country to do that, and
yes.
So you've got a lot of it. And a lot of it, when you get it here, is not very functional.
Not really, no. A lot of stuff.
George gets to work.
Yeah, we find pieces on the stone wall, or people will call us and tell us there's something out in their back 40, and we go pick it up. Some of it becomes just replacement parts, but some of it, if it's near usable, then he heads to the blacksmith shop and creates the parts and pieces we need and puts it back together again. And a lot of the equipment we have here is put together by him.
In the beginning, Sounds like the beginning of the Bible. In the beginning. Did you expect to have it a working farm that people, kids and adults could come through?
No, we discuss
did
that all the
evolve?
time. When I moved here, my kids were just beginning to go to school. And so they wanted to bring in sheep and goats for show and tell. So we started doing those kind of things when my kids were in preschool, YMCA, kindergarten. We would do the show and tell thing with the animals. And one thing led to another. A teacher asked if we could do something. And
Oh, they do that.
and
don't
so
they?
class trips just started coming out here. Unfortunately, budget cuts, No Child Left Behind, being taught to a test instead of some real life experience. We see that they're declining, as is everybody else we know that does agritourism. Kids are getting out of the classroom less and less, and that's a huge pet peeve of mine, because if it wasn't for Minor Institute and Arto Monaco from the Land of Make Believe, I probably wouldn't be here doing this today. But those were 2 class trips that we went on, and my lifelong dream of meeting Arto came true just before he died. And so, I was able to tell him that because of him and because of all these pictures I have, which I had not seen probably ever until my mother showed them to me about 8 or 10 years ago, of me being there, feeding animals, surrounded by animals.
I love it.
And so I say, at Minor Institute at the time we went there, they had buffalo and draft horses, and I had much longer hair, and some of the draft horses had eaten a big chunk of my hair out, and my mother was mortified.
I waited all day to hear that story.
My mother was absolutely mortified because she pulled out this big chunk of hair out of a horse's mouth. And I just remember looking up. I was probably, 3.5 foot tall, looking up and seeing this massive workhorse there, and thought, well, someday I might have one of those. And right now we have 12 horses here.
I was going to ask you that.
We're down a little bit from where we have been. We sold a few. We were spending all summer long bringing in hay and all winter long feeding it out, and so we've cut down to 12. It's a little more manageable for us, and hopefully we'll stick at 12 for a while. But every fall and winter we get calls from people who life just takes its toll on them, and they either can't afford them, they're moving, they need a good forever home, and we sometimes end up being the place that a horse ends up.
I know how that goes too. I've seen
yeah,
it happen with so many friends who love animals here in the North Country.
Yeah, and in a job or a family move or anything can cause upheaval in their life. And so we've taken in quite a number of horses that I don't know where they would be otherwise. But so some of the ones we use to work here were not always ours. They used to belong to other people. But if they live here, they hopefully work here.
I bet you they do. And I'm so thrilled, and Calvin is too. You revived the name of our late dear friend, Arto Monaco.
Oh, I love him.
We did a number of television shows with Arto, and each one was better than the last one.
Yes,
he was just such a character. He loved his donkeys, and he loved his horses, and he loved kids, and the neighborhood kids worked at the Land of Make Believe. And now, as we all know, they were hoping to revive the Land of Make Believe and turn it into a park. And last year, a little hurricane named Irene came along.
Well, that was a miserable hurricane for us and every other farmer in the North Country, but Arto's place really took a hit last year, and I guess there's not one single thing left there.
The castle went right down the river, and we have a good friend, Asa, who kept us informed, and we were downtown when we learned what happened, and it was all gone. Yeah,
very, very sad, but I can tell you that it was probably one of the biggest highlights of my life to be able to meet Arto and I get to tour his little shop, and and he was so unpretentious. He's just sitting there working, and I'm just in awe, like a little kid in a candy store, walking around, touching his stuff and looking at it. And before I'd even gotten a chance to meet him, George was down there helping a farrier friend of ours trim some of his donkeys. And I said to George, would you take a videotape I have of the Land of Make Believe down and see if he'll sign it for me? And George came home, and I said, did you bring my videotape back? And he said, yes. And amongst other things, And he had a bag full of memorabilia from Ardo, and he signed all of it. And he was just so kind, and he had never even met me. He filled a bag full of stuff and a T-shirt that he signed, and I was in heaven. And so I thought, I've got to meet this man, and so I did. And it's because of those kind of things that I do what I do today, because I was allowed out of the classroom long enough to see what life had to offer besides a book. And I went to college, but I wasn't cut out to be in college. I needed to really be getting my hands dirty and be out here monkeying with the animals.
What you don't know, Melissa, is that I have 500 color slides taken at the Land of Make-Believe 50 years ago.
Wow.
With my own kids. And someday I'll give you a copy of those on a CD.
Oh my gosh, I would love those.
So that you can say, oh, I remember that.
You know, the only thing I've seen that I have in my possession are some very old black and whites that my parents took of me standing 3 feet tall down in amongst all these little goats and stuff, feeding the goats and being carried around, and there was llamas, and that was the highlight probably of my childhood, to be in a place like that. And
he influenced so many thousands of people. We can talk about Ardo all day, but I want to talk about your farm. Tell us about all the other animals. Now, we've talked about horses for a minute, and we're going to walk around.
I raised pygmy goats. And I don't know, I think we had like 15 or 16 babies born this spring.
Did
and I've
you
sold
really?
Yes, and I've sold most of them. There's a few left here. These are just a whole bunch of females running around. Some of them still have their babies, as you can see, babies munching outside of the fence here.
Oh, yeah.
But pygmy goats, and I sell a lot of them. They're great pets. People love them as pets. They're very, very friendly. Don't require a whole lot of feed. Don't poop a whole lot. Very easy keepers for the most part. But as you can see in the background, we decided to do.
I didn't know if those were bleachers or what they were when I came in.
Well, we decided to do a play area for the goats, and we've seen smaller versions around and about. And of course, I'm always on the computer playing, looking for different things, and we saw a version of this, and of course this is the thing that George dreamed up. And what will happen eventually is, maybe even today, the boys are going to finish building the 2 down ramps. We have avoided the down ramps because we didn't want the goats up there till we had all their handrails on, for fear that they would get to fooling around and push one another off. So now all the handrails are on, and I think today they're going to put the 2 bottom ramps on so they can climb up the ramps and go up to the top. And what we will eventually do is put a feeder outside of the fence with a pulley on it, with a grain cup, and so you'll be able to crank the pulley up, and the grain will dump on the top, which will cause the goats to run up and just do crazy antics. And we've got an old tire. We're going to hang a big old tire that we're going to hang from down below and give them something to play on. But it's just basic interaction for the goats, so they've got an area to play
too.
They love to play, and they love this kind of stuff. I wasn't loving it before the handrails were on, because George was asking me to go way up and hand him stuff, and now that the handrails are on, I have no problem. But I think the top one is 15 feet in the air, and so I was a little apprehensive being that high up.
It just dawned on me that part of that 500 slide collection that I have is a series of pictures taken at a place in the high peaks called Land of 1,000 Animals.
I love that place.
In that place there was a structure almost identical like this for their goats.
No kidding.
And when I show it to you, you'll say, oh my goodness.
See, it's amazing. You know, when we built the chicken coop, George is a city boy from New Jersey, and he says to me, how do you want the roofs laid out in here? So I went in, and I said, well, I think this is how I want the roofs laid out in the chicken coop. And he said, all right, if that's the way you want it, I'll build it that way. So he did. My mother came down a few days later, and she goes, this is scary. She said, this is exactly like your grandmother's chicken coop was 50 years ago.
Your head is working.
And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is scary to think that I would have. Now, I don't recall seeing a structure like this at the 1,000 Animals. But obviously, there was something in the back of my brain
I'll
telling
be
me.
busy tonight working for you. That's
Oh
for
my
sure.
gosh, that's amazing. You know what I remember about the Land of the 1,000 Animals is the bears.
Oh, yeah.
way up at the top
Of
of those
course.
poles, laying there hour after hour, just watching
Yeah.
the people or
I got the
sleeping.
pictures. I got the
Oh
pictures.
my gosh, I'm gonna love
We'll
your
make
pictures.
copies for you, and that'll be fun. So you got goats.
Yeah.
You got
I got some miniature donkeys and
pigs.
got 3 potbelly pigs in here, and they're quite comical. And obviously chickens, a few
Chickens.
roosters.
You sell eggs, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we sell eggs and a couple cows. And that's all some dogs and cats, of course.
Oh,
What
of
farm isn't
course.
complete without some
You got a
dogs and
Saint
cats?
Bernard that's as big as a horse.
My Saint Bernard Newfie mix, and then I was crazy enough. George says I need my head examined because in the spring, a friend of ours called and said the same woman I got my Saint Bernard Newfie from. She says I have a Saint Bernard Retriever. Would you at the very least look at him?
Yeah, I know how that goes.
What was I gonna say when I saw that? I mean, he was this little. He was like a little black teddy bear, and
yeah.
so I said, "Oh my goodness, for sure." And so yes, we have dogs and cats and the works. I mean, I just think that it's a complete farm for the most part. We don't milk cows generally, but we have milked cows here before, and I just don't have the time to commit to twice a day feed. You know,
I know
the
what you
feeding
mean.
and milking
But
like
it's
that.
a wonderful learning experience, not only for you, but for the public, for the kids, the big kids and little kids. We're doing this program in September 2012, and it's a time of the year that's exciting for people on farms for a lot of reasons. And you have so many things going on right now. We're going to walk around and talk
Right.
about them, but I mean, you got a corn maze. I don't know
Right,
what
we
all
have
you got.
we have a corn maze and a pumpkin patch, and when we're open, little train rides for kids, the horse and wagon rides to the corn maze and pumpkin patch. There is every weekend is busy doing something.
And in the wintertime, it's up in Lake Placid.
In the
with
wintertime, we head to Lake
the
Clear and we do
sleigh.
sleigh rides. We do a little bit of sleigh riding here, but not a whole lot because we just don't have the consistent snow. People can't plan a vacation
Isn't that
around it.
amazing? We live in northern New York,
I
and
know.
I tell people in Florida that we didn't have consistent snow, and they
I
just
know.
shake their heads.
Well, people would call last year, and they were shocked that we didn't really have a whole lot of snow here. And ordinarily, from Christmas to New Year's, we'll work six days, and I don't think we worked 6 days all last winter.
Isn't that amazing?
It was a dismal winter, and people were disappointed. People that have come to the Adirondacks almost every year for winter sports were disappointed when they got there, or simply didn't come at all last winter. So we're hoping for that quote unquote normal winter, where we have snow and not too much, but certainly more than we had last winter.
We're talking to Melissa Monty Provost at Country Dreams Farm. We're gonna change the camera status and walk around and look at some things and have a great conversation. Don't miss the rest of the show, folks. Yeah, the horses are moving, the wagon is moving. Are the tires good on it, Melissa?
I hope the tires are good this time around, guys.
Oh, that was so funny. I got to tell people that was a number of years ago when we were heading down through and Calvin was standing up filming in the back and a tire blew and we didn't know what it was and the horses took off and Melissa says she doesn't have a rapport with horses. Oh, yes, she does.
Well,
she was saying, come on, Pat.
I do have a rapport with horses, but that was the first time we'd ever blown a tire, and certainly I had never been on the lines when anything like that had ever happened. So fortunately, the horses are very well behaved, and when I asked them for a whoa, and
It didn't take long.
I
Actually, it
think
was
you
only
told me, of just what? How many seconds did you tell
what
me?
was it, 14 seconds or
About 10.
10 or 14 seconds? And it sent it to me like an hour and a half.
Well, it seemed longer than that till you rewatched the clip, and then you told me it was just a matter of
Yeah.
seconds before I got them under control again. And fortunately, they were really good horses, and I was able to get them to a whoa.
Not quite as good.
Oh, they're not.
goodness.
Oh, come
And-
on.
Hang on there, Mr. Little.
Oh, yeah, you know me. I'm always ready for a ride.
Yeah, because I think that you were a wild man at Frontier Town. Is
Oh,
that
that's-
correct?
You know, it wasn't Frontier Town. It was
was
at Adventure Town. And
Adventure Town.
you mentioned Ardo Monaco, and we were I was mentioning that I rode the bulls and worked with a lot of cowboy stuff up there at
Yeah.
Adventure Town in Alexandria Bay, and he smiled. He said, shut that thing off for a minute. He left the room and came back. He gave me a bag of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
He had designed and built that place, too.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah, he's the one. I said, and we came in on a stagecoach shooting the bad men on the horses. And he says, yeah, I found that stagecoach for him. 2 little old ladies in New Hampshire or somewhere. And
Isn't that amazing?
we think it's the same stagecoach that's up at the the Adirondack Museum in Blue Mountain
Oh,
Lake
no
now.
kidding.
We're not positive.
Wow.
But anyway,
Nice.
those were good times.
Yes, absolutely.
You first came here, you didn't think you'd ever put a tractor on this property.
Well, I knew that there would have to be tractors around because we do far more work than I ever thought I would. 19 years ago when I bought this place, I wanted a hobby farm just for my own private play. That was all. It was my own oasis from the world. And so then after my husband died, 2 years after we were here.
Oh, I forgot to mention that, and so did you, yes.
Yeah. So after he died, I realized that the farm probably should try to turn a profit, because here I was trying to raise 3 little girls, and I didn't want to lose the farm. I didn't want to sell the farm. I'd worked, in my mind, my entire life to have a farm, so I didn't want to lose the farm. So I had to come up with an ingenious way to make money while still being able to raise my kids at home and not have to work a 9-to-5 job. Not that they enjoyed that at all. They used to say to me, "Mom, you're home far too much," but in their mind that was a negative, because there was no time for them to get in trouble. And if they were ever that quote-unquote bored word, Mom always found a job for them to do, because there was always plenty to do, from firewood to weeding in the garden or whatever.
Yeah.
There was always something to do. So my kids learned, don't ever say I'm bored, because I would find them work to do. And just a little side note, my youngest, Hannah, joined the Marines a year ago in August.
I forgot that. Yes.
Yeah, and so she wrote home, of course, almost every day. I think she probably wrote me, and I would get letters that say, "Mom, I'm so glad that I had to pick stones, and I'm so glad we had to work hard," because she said that prepared me for boot camp. And she said, she said, "I would in a heartbeat come home and pick stones for you all day long rather than to do boot camp." Now that she's in avionics, I think that might change. I'm not so sure she'd want to pick stones right now, given the choice of...
I'm not sure I would either, and Calvin and I have both done that a lot.
Yeah, I think that when she was going through her 13 weeks of basic, she probably thought picking stones would be better than doing boot camp. That's probably changed now, but there was always so much to do, and the girls did have to work hard, and they would come home and say, "Mom, nobody else has the chores like we have chores." And well, probably none of your friends own a farm then, because that's just the way things
So the
are.
girls are all gone now?
Pretty much, yes. Yep.
Out of the house?
Yeah, my middle one comes in and out, you know.
Oh,
at will,
they have a habit of doing
yeah,
that, too.
in and out as she sees fit, but the oldest and the youngest are definitely out, and Hannah comes home to visit once in a while, but she's not home long. About a week is her limit, and then she's ready to get back to her Marine schedule. She likes the schedule, she likes the routine.
Where is she located now?
She is in New River, North Carolina.
Oh my goodness.
So, and she's expecting orders one day this week to head off to wherever they're sending her now. And so anyhow, I think it was good training for my girls that they did have to work. And I said to them one day that it was hot and they were picking stones, and they're like, "I don't understand why we have to do this." Well, of course we had to do it to get the corn planted. But besides that, I said, because it assures me that you will go on and make something of yourself and not want to loaf around, because if you do, if you're 25 and you're still with me, you might have to pick stones then too, so you might want to get a good job. And so for the most part, they've done that.
How many acres on this farm?
There's 95 acres here.
Are there really?
Yeah.
Hard to believe. Now you started growing a few things. And
I started out with just a few things, yes, and then we thought we would dabble in a corn maze, and so our first year was okay. Our second year was better than our first year, and this is our third year with an official corn maze.
Last year was a little muddy in the corn maze.
Oh my goodness! Last year,
in case people don't remember the night of the ghost stories.
Last year was a nightmare. We had so much mud, and we warned everybody. I did it on a website. I did it on my
kids
Facebook
with
page.
Sneakers and barefooted kids.
By the time they got done, they were hosing themselves off out by the garden hose. And but this spring, we decided to bite the bullet and get our fields tiled.
What a difference.
And there, I mean, of course it's dry right now, but even if there's rain, there's no sitting water, there's no puddles this year, there's nothing, because we've put the tile in. It was an expensive job, and it was, in our mind, it was just a long job. I'm glad the job is done, but what a difference it's made in our corn this year. It's just an amazing year for corn.
This is the time of the corn maze. We're
Yes.
so glad when we saw the first ones here in the North Country, because everybody loves them. Melissa, how many buildings were here when you moved here? I know the house was here.
The house, the barn, and this old barn
Down
were the
here.
only two buildings that were here on the farm. And back in 2004, we applied for the very last round of funding under the Pataki administration for a barn restoration grant. And I had applied a number of years in a row, didn't get very far. Of course, you don't ever know how far you got in the selection process. I just knew we didn't get a grant. And so a very good friend of mine named Paula Dennis, she wrote the barn grant for us. And she told the barn grant people things that I wouldn't have told in a million years. Like I would have never written the stuff in the barn grant about being a single mother and, you know, my lifelong dream to have a, and she said, oh yes, she said, this is the human interest side of this, you know, and there's points for everything. You have to tell them this. And I said, but I don't want people knowing that about me, because of course I was too private at that point, didn't want anybody to know those things about me. And long story short, there had been a lot of problems and there was some flooding downstate. We didn't get notification on the approval of the barn grant until I think the winter of 2007. So it was just a long process, and needless to say, we restored the barn. We went above and beyond what our requirements were. It's still not 100%. We still have a few things we'd like to do. Stone fascia would be nice, because they asked us to set it up on a cement footing, and we did, but we'd really like to do the stone fascia, and that'll come in some...
That'd be so cool.
Oh my gosh,
looking. Wouldn't that
absolutely,
be? Oh,
that'd be
you're not going to pick more stone, are you?
Well, we have picked a lot of stone, and I have areas where I have set aside a whole lot of nice flat stone for the as we tile and stuff, and as we pick stones out of the cornfield. If we come across a nice run of stone, because it seems to come in runs type thing. We save those, we set them aside, and we know that eventually those will go for that stone fascia on there. But that's another George project, and he already tells me that I have to stop with the projects because he's got to live to be 120 bare minimum.
That'll probably happen with all the hard work. Now, if we can get him to quit smoking, maybe.
Oh, that smoking thing. You don't need. Listen, I harp every day of my life about it, and it doesn't get anywhere. But you know, I suppose it has to be his time, and so when he decides, then he'll stop.
That'll do it. Now, this building right in front of the horses.
Well, that building certainly.
Boy, does that look familiar to me.
That gets an awful lot of attention from everybody that stops here. People will call here. People will comment about that building.
So has that building always been there? Well, guess what, folks?
Guess what? No, that was, as you guys well know, that was the building we brought home from the old Zeffie Newell farm. Thanks to...
On the Tom Miller Road.
Yes, on the Tom Miller Road, thanks to Dr. Eric Eaglefeather and Dr. Becky King. And every time I would drive by the old Newell residence, I always thought, oh, that is such a cool old building. Oh, that's such a cool old building. And when we got the opportunity to take possession of that building, we were thrilled. And right now it's a little bit of a mess because it becomes our catch-all when we're doing other projects, but George uses that for his blacksmithing, and so he's got his forge set up in there, but it's kind of becomes a catch-all too for equipment that, you know, if he's working outside and it's going to rain, he throws his equipment in there. But great little building, and so
it came here with a team early in the morning.
With a team of horses early in the morning to avoid any kind of trouble, and we didn't get in any trouble, thankfully. It
was wonderful.
It was a great experience.
Your late daddy was driving the truck, and
yes.
we were inside with the camera, and you were so afraid the troopers were going to stop you, and they waved on the way by.
They waved.
Everybody gave you their blessing as we brought that thing up there. 4.5 miles, right?
Yes, and I still hear from people that are like, oh, I saw you doing that. And some people have stopped by with pictures that they took, obviously, from their own front yard or their own window. And it's funny because when you're the one doing it, you don't notice all the people that were watching. I didn't know that anybody was really watching us.
We were so afraid, and we had to stop once and make sure that everything was straight.
Yeah, we had to make sure. Well, we didn't want to lose it. We didn't want it to fall off its Well, we brought it home on an old wagon running gear, and so no, we didn't want to take the chance that we were going to lose this building.
So you've added on to things down through the years.
We have.
Over Calvin's right shoulder is your wonderful store. Tell me about
that. What happened there was when I bought this property 19 years ago, there was an old man and woman living there in a mobile home. So there's a cement slab there, and they eventually died and moved on. One died, one moved on, and we didn't know what we were going to do with the cement slab short of tearing it up, and we didn't want to tear it up. So George had this ingenious idea that we would build a barn on it. And we knew we didn't want to put animals in it. We knew it was going to be more for display. That sometimes becomes our catch-all too. But that's where people come in. When they come here for the corn maze or pumpkin patch, they go in to get their tickets. We have a fully functioning bathroom with a shower and the whole works for friends like our Amish friends. If they come and stay, they've at least got a place to go to the bathroom and wash up at night if they want, and sleep out there. They don't really mind our electricity, but they're much more comfortable in a place like that than they are in the house with TV running or something like that.
Get over here, Mr. George. Don't tell me you're sweating a little bit.
Not
You're
me.
Far too old to sweat.
I know, I'm way too
You got to
old.
get other people to crawl up on your goat gizmo over there, too.
You know what my biggest fear is? I'll be dead 3 months before she tells me.
Oh,
She'll
really?
just want me to keep going.
See, I get the newspaper delivered every day, and he says the only thing you read is the obituaries. He said, "You're not even going to tell me when I'm in there, are you?" And
Isn't that a riot?
I
it would be pointless to tell him that he's in the paper
all
for
we,
an obituary.
all we do is let our feet hit the floor on a given day and do
Just
the best
keep on
we can.
going, that's right.
We're just talking about getting the wonderful old Zeffie Newell building up here from the
Oh,
Tom
yeah.
Miller Road. What great fun that was. And I bet you they haven't moved a building with horses since who knows what century until you did it that time.
Probably not,
That
but
was a lot of fun.
keep your ear to the ground. There might be another one in the future.
Oh, really?
A little bit bigger, more horses, longer distance.
There's so many
still working.
wonderful things to do and talk about on this farm. 90-some acres. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we only utilize about half of that because the other half is considered wetlands, and so.
Oh, I know that story.
Yeah,
too.
so I don't have to go into that
Yeah.
really. You know, like if you've got some property that is designated wetlands by DEC or something, you have to be very careful what you do on it. So for us, there's a brook that runs through it. We meander in there. We let the horses pasture in there. Usually most of the winter, like last winter, they had access to that all winter long. They were in that pasture, and they would sometimes they would just go in there and bed down at night. They'd get into
No
the thick
kidding.
cedars, and
Isn't that amazing?
so it does get utilized on some level, but we can't ever turn it into to cropland or anything like that. It's forever
Can't drain it,
wetland.
we can't till it. We can utilize the wood off of it. You can cut trees,
That's
and-
okay.
harvest the lumber.
And it can be pasture, and then it's just pretty for us to look at. And so that's pretty much what we do with half of it. And the other half is fully functional. We use just about every inch of the other half of that.
Yeah.
Pasture, hay,
We
or
try to gain
corn and
as
pumpkins.
much as we can as we keep going on. We try to, clean up little areas that aren't being utilized and add a little bit more.
And work right up to the hedgerows. The hedgerows had overgrown a lot, and so as we do things, we work back closer and closer to the stone walls so that we can gain a little more.
Clean the
and
trees,
couple
chip
I
more.
know about the stone wall. Isn't that where the tire blew?
It was right between two butt ends of a stone wall.
Yeah. I remember. Calvin remembers that too. Even though he
Calvin
was trying to take pictures of the stars that day. I think.
Well, I've got some safety harness now. I was thinking of putting on Calvin before we put him in the wagon, and we'll strap him to the
lock him
sides.
in. Lock him in.
Lock him right in.
How white was your beard when you moved up here from New Jersey?
It was mostly blonde. It wasn't white.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Things do change a little bit. That's why my wife won't let me grow a beard.
I've been up here 34 years now.
Have you really?
79.
I think that's where Calvin first found. Didn't you just find George somewhere doing a blacksmith work or something?
97.
97.
That was, wow.
Well, that's a little while ago too, you know.
That was one of the last interviews that Bob did. Was with
Oh,
George.
with Bob Venn.
Yeah.
Oh, the late Bob Venn. Boy, we've covered a lot of history today in our little program so far. Well, this is going to be a great day. We're going to walk around a little bit. We're going to take a look at the
Goat Mountain.
at Goat Mountain,
And the horses.
and the horses, and maybe the corn maze.
We
and-
might take a little cruise in the corn maze. I hate to tell you, and I'm not going to be your leader in the corn maze because we've built. This is the third corn maze we've built. George decided this year that we were going to have a drawing, and so we drew this out on a piece of graph paper, and George went to work when the corn was very short. And I've been working in there with George since the beginning. Since the beginning of this corn maze, I've been in there pulling corn and, mapping things out. And we finally finished it up, what we thought was pretty much finished. We haven't added all of our props in yet. We're going to do that for this weekend opening. But anyhow, I have not successfully went in the start and come out the exit.
Oh, really?
I'm challenged in that
She
regard.
owns the joint and she
And
can't find
I
her
know,
way.
and everybody says
We'll
you own the
find your
joint, you can't
bones
come
in the spring, Melissa.
You know what?
1, 2, third year in a row. The first 2 years were totally simplistic. A couple of loops,
Oh,
one
yeah.
or two dead
Yeah,
ends.
I know.
She never found her way out in the first 2 years.
Oh, well.
This year, oh my God.
This year has become a nightmare. I get in there and he says, "Do you have any idea where you are?" And I say, "I have no idea." And he says, "Well, when I see the turkey buzzards, I'll send somebody down to find you in there." He has no sympathy for the fact
And
that
he hears
I
a
can...
very faint.
Exactly. I don't even know if he'd come for a faint holler like that. I think he would probably just leave me down there.
We've seen huge corn mazes in other parts of the country where they have a big tower.
Yes.
Somebody up there watches for folks that are
Well,
lost.
I've told him that that's the next thing I
That's the
want is a
next
big
step,
tower
big
in
tower.
there so that for people like me, see, I think if I could get up high enough to look down, I might be able to.
Just issue a GPS with everybody that goes.
I wanted to do ours this year by GPS, and he's like, "No, that's
I
too."
was being facetious.
Well, they do them like that.
They do?
Yeah,
Oh,
some of these big
I
guys do
should've
them like
known.
that. And so I asked him about it, and he said, "No, not this year." He said, "We're still going to have an old-fashioned type corn maze, but of course it's much more intricate now. It's in the shape of a barn with a silo and doors and
come
dead
on,
ends.
come
Oh,
on.
it's crazy.
sun
And it's just crazy. It's
Oh, my
crazy.
gosh.
So I have to follow him, and sometimes I don't think either he doesn't know where he's going or he tells me he doesn't know to try to get me
Probably
nervous.
don't
And,
know.
Of course.
and I just figure I'm gonna get out. I mean, I don't want to crash the corn maze, but at some point I've got to get out.
Well, the corn maze was a good idea because it brings kids in. I'll never forget those kids coming out with mud right up to various body parts.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
trying to get the hold of the hose because some kids were barefooted with mud oozing through their toes and.
Well, after that, the next day we found dirty socks all over the
Oh, you
place
did?
where kids would
Shoes,
kids had
socks.
left their socks here because they were too muddy to even bother taking home. Either that or their parents said, "You're not getting in the car with those on." And so I picked up, I can't tell you how many pairs of little kids socks that were black with mud, and
I love it.
I kept them around for a week or so, and after that they got tossed in the garbage and
Else
nobody
we go over
cleaned.
to that hose and hose off.
They
and-
hose off. I want to let people know that we're here on, what day is this? To the 6th of September 2012.
Yep.
And will be a busy time of the year for you. And there are teachers and parents watching now who would love to bring their families here. How would they go about contacting you ahead of time or what?
Well, they don't have to contact me ahead of time just to come out on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday because typically, unless it's a downpour, we're open.
Organized groups do need to call ahead.
Yeah, if there's a
like a
large
school group.
Right, or
Field trip.
if it's a group of just say a group of people got together, and we have like homeschoolers, we have foreign exchange groups, we have big groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, those kind of things. They should call ahead, and that way I can have their tickets ready for them so that if it's busy, they don't have to wait in line. They don't have to deal with somebody who doesn't know what we've already agreed upon for their time or their number of tickets or price or anything like that. It's just better to if you're going to come in with a big
team
group.
harness if we need it.
That's true, too. What's the number?
561-8941.
That's a 518 prefix.
Yep, 518-561-8941. You can find us countrydreamsfarm.com. You can find us on Facebook at Country Dreams
on
Farm.
Facebook, every
Of
day
course
of the
on
week.
Facebook.
Everybody.
I've become, when my kids were little and they were on the computer a lot and stuff, I always said when you kids leave home, I will not even have electricity more than likely. Well,
Never be addicted to Facebook.
oh
right?
my,
Famous
well,
last
no,
words.
yeah, I didn't even know what Facebook was, and they would say to me, Mom, you need a Facebook. Mom, you need a Facebook. And I'm like, what do I need a Facebook for? I don't even have enough friends to have a Facebook. Like, that's crazy. So they convinced me anyways to get a Facebook for myself, and I get one, and that was the beginning of the end, because then I thought, well, geez, businesses claim this is good for business. I should do a Country Dreams Farm one, and I did, and we're up to 770 some followers, and then I thought, well, might as well have one for Adirondack sleigh rides, which is what we call ourselves when we're doing sleigh rides, and that's got, I don't even know, because I don't monitor that one as close during the summertime, because people aren't thinking sleigh ride right now.
I did. I was on there this morning.
I know.
Just because I'm me.
Well,
one time, George gets a hold of me and says, and I quote, Gordy, what does a horse-drawn trolley look like? Anyway. That's what started with you, and then you, cotton picker, you built one.
Had to go build one. I mean, it goes on from there.
We had horse-drawn trolleys around here and in many cities around the world, and in Plattsburgh it turned into regular trolley service.
Right.
The Plattsburgh Traction Company, and then became a bus company, and
yes.
So you built one, and it worked. It didn't fall apart.
No, it didn't fall apart. It works well. It just was not a very lucrative venture.
Yeah.
I don't
never
know
know
why.
what's going to work.
You never know what's going to
When
work.
the weather's bad, the sleigh rides don't work very good.
Oh, well, no.
No, we did 6 days last year, I think.
Yeah, that's what I told them.
We mentioned that.
Terrible.
Isn't it amazing?
It's amazing. Who would ever think that in Lake Placid, New York, you would not have snow on Christmas?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Or at
unheard
least
of.
somewhat throughout the course of the winter, that you would have enough snow.
Yeah, never mind the rest of the winter, too.
Yeah.
But
Well, are your teams available for hire to go and join people for other functions?
We do other off-the-farm functions. We try to minimize what we do off the farm September and October, and then January and February, and the end of December, really, because we like to start sleigh rides as soon as the snow starts to fall. But we do off-the-farm work also for other businesses, for just big family reunions. You name it, we've probably done it in the past. And but we
to let
really
people know that you're a multifaceted organization.
we are multifaceted, but we really try to stick close to home for September and October, because it's near impossible for us to be off the farm when we really need to be here doing the stuff that, I mean, we're so far behind this year, it's not even funny.
You're not behind, George, are you?
no,
Never got behind.
Never behind.
What you
Right on
need
schedule.
you need another project. Is what you need.
Yeah, exactly. And so I can dream up a project for him. It doesn't mean he's going to do it. Then I tell him what I'd like to do, and then he does the creative dreaming.
Well, I hit a guy up the other day that works for AT&T or someplace, I don't know, but they have these big spools that the wire
yeah.
come on.
Oh, sure.
And they're probably 4 feet high, 4 feet in
Yeah.
diameter. And I hit him up for one to put out here for the goats to climb on. I'd
Yeah.
put, Well, that wasn't good enough for Melissa. Then she had to say, "Do you have any telephone poles?"
No.
She said, "I have lots of telephone poles."
Here we go.
No. He said, you've already gotten some poles from me. And I said, I have. And he said, yes, your brother came out here and took the telephone poles that you've used for your goat mountain. And I said, I didn't know that's where he got them. And he said, yeah, but he said, I can supply George with the spool he's looking for those goats, but you have to take the rest of the telephone
pole
poles, or you can't have
that's
can't
a
have the
little
spool.
package deal,
So-
huh?
Well, I think there's a few more projects he can do with my.
Well, I said, I can always come up with something for George to do with those telephone poles. I mean, I don't
Let's
know
not
what
be too graphic about that. Unbelievable. So you went and got the rest of the
No,
poles?
we
Oh,
haven't
you
done
didn't get
that
them
yet.
yet.
No,
Not yet.
that
Oh.
was just Sunday that I talked to this guy, and we haven't had the opportunity. It's been crazy here, and so we haven't gone to get those telephone poles and that spool. So that may be
Well,
in the next couple of weeks.
What do you say we move around a
Yep,
little bit and look at
absolutely.
something different? We're going to pause for just a moment. We're at Country Dreams Farm on the Pellerin Road in the town of Beekmantown. And these are going to be the most active goats the world has ever known, Melissa.
Well, I'm hoping it keeps them active. I think it'll be entertaining for the general public. It'll be entertaining for us. We can't wait until George puts the final step down so that they can come up onto this.
Did he
and-
design the whole thing?
He did, but it was by pure happen chance. My brother came down with a small excavator
Dog
and
with a stone. What? Oh, that's a bone.
That's
I
a
thought it was
bone.
a stone. Okay, go ahead.
my brother came down with a small excavator and the telephone poles that he got from a friend of his, and They just set them. However, there was not a rhyme or a reason or even a plan at that point. They just set the poles in, and George figured if he had to cut them off, he could cut them at some point. So this is what he created with the poles that were in the ground. He's just off the cuff kind of with his creativity. And so this is what he's created. And,
Do you think the goats will learn this all by themselves?
Oh, I think they will. I'm hoping they will. Goats are curious by nature to begin
really
with.
are, aren't they?
Very curious, and they love to climb. So
I want to pause here for just a moment to tell people that goats like kindergartners and first graders homework too, because there was a
don't doubt
goat
that.
on my way to school, and if things didn't go so well in school,
you told the teacher that
the goats ate it.
Yeah. Actually, that can be a true story on this farm. You know, because if you're out there and you drop a piece of paper, and heaven forbid that you would drop money out there, because they eat it. They eat anything,
Oh, my
anything
goodness.
that comes their way, like that they're not supposed to eat.
Yeah.
You know, when they say that goats will eat anything, that's not really true. If they're allowed to get out, they're going to eat flowers out of the flower garden. They're going to go right to the garden and eat all that good stuff. They're not going to eat the weeds that are growing in the yard. They're definitely going to go to the clothesline and taste every piece of clothing. They're just going to taste it enough to put holes in it with their back teeth. They're going to gnaw on it a little bit. And then I come out in the morning and I see all the bottoms of the clothes have had a gnaw mark in them. So, of course, they're effectively garbage at that
Well,
point.
there's an old song that you would not remember because you're just a child.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Grogan's goat was feeling fine. He ate the clothes from off the line.
Ah, that...
It's a great old song that just went through my mind.
That-
'Cause I have a strange mind, but they'll do that.
That would be exactly what would happen here if these guys get out right to the clothes, just the things that they're not supposed to. They'll go in the barn, they'll get into just everything. They get into grain, they get into things they shouldn't get into. And so I think by nature they're going to be curious enough that they're going to want to see what that is. They've been over there mulling around, rubbing on it, checking out all the lumber. I think that they're going to be on there. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I want to also mention we saw two young men who look like they're Amish, and
They are. We have a lot of Amish friends from the North Lawrence area, which is the other side of Malone.
in Franklin County.
In
yep.
Franklin County, and actually these guys would correct you and tell you that they live right across the St. Lawrence County
Oh,
line.
it is. Oh,
They live
yeah.
right, because all we ever hear about when we take them home is now we're in the good county,
Oh,
meaning
I see.
St. Lawrence
Oh,
County.
St. Lawrence.
When they see the sign St. Lawrence County now, they say now we're in the good county. So they're right across the county line in St. Lawrence County, and we've been friends of this particular family now for probably 7 years or longer. And over the course of the 7 years, most of the family has spent time here, several days at a time. They come down, and the boys are just awesome workers. You don't have to watch them. You don't have to be
Talk
right
about
there.
a work ethic.
They have a work
built
ethic.
It's in the genes for them.
It is in the genes for them. They are wonderful workers, and we don't have to be right there watching them. They're meticulous with their work, and when we have a big project, like they came down and put the tin on the barn for us.
Oh, they did, really?
They did our barn roof. Actually, one of these boys and two of his older brothers came down and helped, and so yeah, it's just great kids. They in their work ethic. They've been out here. I heard them out here this morning at 6:30 working, and last night we worked until it was too dark to work anymore. They when we get to the covered bridge that we just built, they were working on that last night till
No
dark.
kidding.
So
For those people who don't know much about the Amish religion and the way the Amish culture works, you should study a little bit.
oh, they're very fascinating.
We have a lot of Amish families here in northern New York, and very often you might meet them as the Amish wonderful matron of the family is sitting by the road with a horse
Yep.
and a buggy, and she's selling cheese and she's selling
Yes.
baked goods.
They're very entrepreneurial, and the women do a lot of baking and
gosh.
sewing to sell, and like these guys have a lumber yard. They grow produce. They grow strawberries. They're pretty much a year round. They sugar and
They make wooden shelters too. You see.
and these guys do too. And a lot of the
they
wood,
do?
some of the wooden well, both of the newer wooden shelters you see here were made by the Amish.
Were they?
And we have a corn crib that their older brother Dan came down and made, fashioned it after an old-fashioned corn crib.
Isn't that great?
And we actually put our corn in there to dry for the winter. So yeah, they fit in here perfectly because they know the look we want to create, and they're great to have around.
So this will actually not look too much different when it's finished, except there'll be ramps, right?
Right. The only thing that's missing on this now is 2 down ramps for the goats to climb up on to get to the top, and that may be done before we're done filming today. We may save a little bit of film for the very end and see if we can nab.
You won't have to paint it or stain it, or will you?
Nope. It's all pressure treated, and this project was George designed it, but. A friend of ours that works at Curtis Lumber came down one day and said, "I think there's some bundles of culled lumber down there. You think you should go down to Curtis Lumber and see what they've got for
What a
culled
great
lumber?"
idea.
So we went down and we got some bona fide good lumber because obviously some of the structure needed to not have any blemishes at all. And Curtis Lumber has helped us out tremendously with 2 bundles of culled lumber at an awesome price. And so that's what George created with this lumber. And we've got some lumber left over, and he's got a couple other little projects in the works that he's thinking he's going to do with that. Rarely do you see us use pressure treated this like out front and center like this, because most of the stuff here is rough cut and old-fashioned type stuff. But George doesn't want to do maintenance on this all the time.
Oh, and you'd have to.
Yeah, if this was pine or
Yeah.
something, we would have to be maintaining it, and we really don't want to maintain it any more than we have to. So we spent the extra money to do pressure treated on the whole thing. And I just was down at Curtis Lumber this morning and picked up some 5/4 to do the top handrail on. Just to sturdy it up, make sure no one's going to fall off or get bumped off, and that way there.
Now people go up there too?
No, well, of course, you know that George sends me up there periodically. So he knew that he had to have a steady handrail up there for me if I'm going to climb up there. And,
Okay, I was just wondering that because I know the kids aren't going to be crying.
oh my gosh, we haven't figured out, because when we're open, we let adults and children into this pasture up here.
Yes.
We let them go in there and play with the animals and all. We haven't figured out exactly how we're going to prevent children from going up the ramp. Of course, we're going to have signs that say no children allowed. Listen, kids don't read that kind of stuff, and so we'll have to be vigilant with the kids climbing up there. We're reasonably sure with the ramping system we've got, with all the handrails and all, that they're not going to fall off or anything. It's just we don't want kids up there.
That'll be good. You'll probably have cleats, wooden cleats.
Yep, we haven't done that, but we've got enough scrap lumber now that George is going
the
to
ramp.
cut up a bunch of small stuff, and we'll go up there and put those down for cleats. And yeah, we're kind of excited about it. It's one of the bigger projects that we've done in a long time.
I didn't know. That's why I was so totally taken off guard when I drove in. I had no idea this was going on.
We've been out here working on this for probably almost a month now, and so if I'm just sitting up there waiting for George to cut boards, I watch traffic go by. Well, they do a quick glance, and then all of a sudden they whip their head around and keep looking, because of course, as this has progressed, people have wondered, what are they doing out there? What is this structure?
It looks like bleachers or something. I didn't know if you're going to have a rodeo in the field or
people have not
a goat roping contest or what the heck you were going to do.
People have had no idea. Some people have stopped and said, what are you guys doing up there?
Yeah,
what's happening? We're just building a toy for the goats. It's been a very expensive toy for the goats, but I think that the entertainment value of that alone is going to be huge. I mean,
I won't say you've created a monster, but you've come a long ways, baby, from the 19 years ago when this was a dream.
Oh, absolutely.
And now the public is starting to embrace it. But there were some frustrating years along the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no worse thing in the North Country than marketing your wares, and pretty much for us, we're always on a shoestring budget to begin with. I mean, that's just North Country.
Nature
I mean,
of the beast, right?
yeah,
Sure.
And so it's, how do you get the word out to people And thankfully, word of mouth has been tremendous. We've met a
Works
lot of
well,
great
doesn't
people.
it?
It works well. We've met a lot of great people over the years.
Hometown
And-
cable doesn't hurt either, does
and
it?
Hometown Cable is absolutely wonderful. No, they've been tremendous to us. It's word of mouth. It's things like this where people come out and say, "Can I talk to you for a few minutes? I'm writing a story for a college newspaper, or I'm
Yeah,
writing
or
a
a
story for a
magazine,
magazine."
Yep.
And we try to always make the time for those kind of things. And we tell people the same as we tell you guys. Sometimes it's not always the most convenient for us because we're in the middle of a big project or what. But that's the way life is. And we wouldn't be here with this if there wasn't some mess on the ground with shards of lumber still sitting there waiting to get picked up. But I think after tonight, when the guys are done this, we'll get all that mess picked up and.
Can't wait to come back sometime and take some video of the goats going up there saying,
My little cheap camera video will be running tonight when we
Oh,
set the ramps
yes.
down. I want to have some video footage of that.
I like that idea. We're going to look around some more and have some great fun. Stay with us at Country Dream Farms. All right, every working farm should have a windmill. That's a little windmill that might pump some water. It's going good. I'm sure that they keep it greased up very well. And we're looking inside this goat structure, and there goes George. He hates to go to the top, but by golly, he's doing it. He's got a little scaffolding there, and there we have a nice ramp for the goats. And George assures me that goats like to climb. So if we don't get a goat going up here today, we're going to have to do some prodding, I think, some poking and some prodding. Oh, I see what they're doing. He's taking down the structure.
Scaffolding.
The scaffolding, that's true, yeah, that too. Well, I've seen a lot of things built in the air, but I never saw anything quite like this one. And it may, to some people, look a little haphazard, but you can see where it might be a lot of fun. They go up and they go down and they're round and down the other side.
It's a little reminiscent, except that at Park Safari, the ramp area is for the people to climb.
Oh yeah, that's true too, yeah.
The animals. But
Well, we've been to Park Safari many times. Is it lunchtime, Melissa?
Well, we're going to see if we can entice the goats up the
I
ramp.
think you got it, because we're going to be here watching you when they do.
this is going to be almost as exciting as seeing that first wind tower go up.
Oh yeah, that was. And I see the new ones. Did you see the size of those new
Yeah.
ones? How different that nacelle is on top. Those things are huge, isn't it? I'm sure you do the same thing, Calvin. When you drive by, you count how many how many are turning and how many aren't turning. And yeah, look at this.
I got one.
She's got the grain. She's walking up there. Oh, look at they're all over
Donkeys
there.
are going to say, "Hey, what about us?"
Yeah, look at this. Yeah. Look at that. I knew you could do it, Melissa. I knew you could do it. All the way up, Melissa. Come on. Yeah, keep going, George. It's easy for him to say, right? Keep going.
Now, if you didn't want them up there, they'd be
Yeah.
all over running
Look
around
at the
on the
little
top.
miniature goats. Aren't they beautiful? See, they're not afraid to go up a little ways. Oh yeah, just pour a little bit on there.
And always stay on the mountain
The
side
goat
of
lady.
the goats.
Makes me want to sing "Talk to the Animals." Oh boy, there she goes. Whoops, I think I'm going back. This one says
It's a trap. They know a trap when they see one.
Billy Goat Gruff. Oh, the dog wants to go up now.
I don't think the pigs will make it.
I
Though.
wonder if wouldn't that be funny? Look at those pot-bellied pigs.
The
Look
chickens
at,
will go up there quickly though. They won't take
yeah.
them long.
Oh, it won't take them long. Look at this one trying to climb. Look at that. Aren't they beautiful? Oh, she's got one up there with her. That'd be funny if the donkey started up there. Look at he's trying to swish the goats away. Look. Oh, he wants the grain. That's what he wants. He's not stupid. Oh, there goes a little one. We're at the Country Dreams Farm on the Pellerin Road, town of Beekmantown. Easy to get here from several directions, but it's if you're anywhere near the Military Turnpike, Route 190, just turn onto the Pellerin Road at the scene of what used to be the old Wesleyan Methodist Church. It's now an antique shop, and come up the road a couple of miles and you're here. Easy to find the place, especially if you're looking at it on television, because it looks the same in person. Isn't that amazing? Country Dreams Farm with Melissa, Monty Provost, and George has been around here for a long time, and it's just getting better every year. And so much of a learning tool for our little kids and adults. It's great nostalgia for those of us who are old enough to remember when farms were run by horses. She's getting them up there, George.
We'll go.
You got them going. They're just getting used to the idea. Look at this. Oh yeah, like you said, they really want to. Look at this. I'll take a little walk up there and see what I can see. They'd be on top of your house if they could figure out how to get up there, you know.
Oh yeah.
Look at sliding down. We got a ski slope. Look,
That's a slippery one.
Oh, isn't that a riot? Yeah, you might have to put a couple of cleats on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put cleats on there for him. It's a learning curve.
Not to mention for Melissa, who's coming down very cautiously right now. She
Well,
made it!
It's better now since there's a safety railing around it, but when there was just a deck, oh boy.
Yep.
She was a little bit nervous.
That's wonderful. You did good, George.
It's getting there.
You did good.
Now I got to work on the feeder system.
Yeah, that'll be that. You figure that out.
Oh yeah.
You're good at ropes and pulleys. I know you are.
Yeah, you have to be.
We didn't hope you were going to slide all the way down, so we were really relieved when we noticed you made it.
I didn't fall, I didn't slip or slide.
You see the little goat come sliding all the way down?
Yeah, the little ones don't have much traction.
No, they don't. But they're still going to do. Look at this.
We'll get cleats on.
Yep.
Oh, look who's screaming at him. Oh, listen to that. Look at that. Don't you love it?
Oh yeah, it's going to be an attraction, I think. I hope so.
Oh, yeah.
Once they all learn there's food to be had up there, they'll come running.
It's good to have sound effects, too, you know? Don't you love it?
The donkey, yeah.
Oh.
He's quite vocal.
How many do you have now? Many donkeys?
Six jennies, a mini stud, and a mammoth stud.
Okay.
The mini stud is very friendly. The mammoth is not.
No kidding.
Oh, he's terrible.
Not mean, is he?
Very, very.
Is he?
He's
He
aggressive.
They're
He's
very
aggressive to you?
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
bit me and everything.
Come on.
They are.
Isn't that? That surprises me.
They're a dangerous animal.
I know they can be, but I've never noticed. I've never seen any that were downright mean.
He's not so much downright mean as he is aggressive. It's
Yeah.
probably
He has a one-track
testosterone.
mind.
He
Yes.
can't help himself.
That's just the way he is. Oh, look, he's got them all the way up
Yep.
to the top.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Once again, we're doing this little show in our little corner from Country Dreams Farm on the Pellerin Road in the town of Beekmantown, and there's nothing more beautiful at this time of year than a pumpkin patch.
Gorgeous. And this year, as you can see, the pumpkins are gorgeous. All shapes and sizes. Some still green, but mostly all orange. They are gorgeous. And the gourds are gorgeous. We'll take a ride down and see our gourds.
How much space do we have taken up with pumpkins, would you guess?
I think about 3 acres right here.
Do you really?
Yep.
It's quite a project, and some years are great for pumpkins, and some are just terrible.
We had a terrible year last year for pumpkins. This year we made up for it. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
You were telling me as we're doing this early in September, and you said people stopped by before you were even open, wanted to buy some pumpkins.
We sold a ton of pumpkins last weekend. I'm just surprised how early people are decorating.
They really are. People love the pumpkins, and the kids begging their parents for pumpkins.
And I think it's not all just about Halloween. I think it's the whole fall atmosphere.
Well, this is the North Country.
Right.
And there's no more beautiful spot on earth in the fall, as far as I'm concerned,
Absolutely.
than here. And I've done research on this in the past, and I won't belabor our viewers with technical information, but there are a lot of places in the world where,
Drive around. Keep talking.
Yeah. yeah, you can drive, we can talk, but there are a lot of places in the world where leaves don't change.
I love fall. I think fall is my favorite time of year, although I'm always anxious for spring because it means back to, in the ground farming kind of thing. But I love fall. I love the smell. I love the sights. I love fall. I always have loved fall, but this whole decorating for fall wasn't such a big deal when I was a kid, but boy, it's really gotten to be a big deal now.
We were in the middle of it when we were kids.
Yeah.
Everything was around us. We didn't have to decorate because
Right,
there were corn
absolutely,
stalks.
right.
There was all this, fall was all around us. There was always a pumpkin patch and there was always some gourds.
Yep.
But nowadays it is a big deal and people are decorating for more holidays now than ever before.
Right.
And as we said before, I don't think the camera was on, but Halloween might turn out to be a bigger holiday than Christmas or Easter.
Oh, I think so. I think so. Yeah, people love Halloween. They love the whole. It's as exciting as going out to get your own Christmas tree, to go out and pick your own pumpkin, and we sell pumpkins to little kids. It's their first pumpkin ever, and how precious is that to see a little kid?
We're going by the gourds.
Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of
know.
gourds here, and this here is a variety of different gourds: big, small, funny shaped, and then. I only did a row of gourds because we planted them a little closer together, but still some pretty interesting gourds down here. And I've already been down here and picked quite a few of them to
have you
put
really?
up front. Yep. We were down the other night and picked a bunch of them.
Now, are we here at a time before you're officially open for your fall?
Yeah, we will. I think we're going to officially open this, which will be September. This Saturday the 8th. Saturday the 8th and 9th, yep, will be officially open. And every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through the end of October with corn maze, pumpkin picking, horse-drawn wagon rides. And the last 2 weekends in October are going to be Fright Nights.
You know I would be here, except that I won't be
I
in
know,
town
you're on
this
vacation.
year.
How dare you take a vacation?
But we'll do it either before or after.
We'll do it before.
We had so much fun last year with the fire.
Oh my gosh, people have talked so about that, and they've posted pictures, and people love that kind of stuff. I'm not one that likes to be scared, but people do like to be scared. And last year we set a Fright Night. It was the same night you were here doing ghost stories. Bonfire everybody could make their own s'mores, and we had more commentary about the Fright Night, and we didn't have a whole lot of pre-planning to that, where this year we've done some more pre-planning, and I think it will be bigger than it was last year probably. And I think we're going to do 2 weekends this year because it was such a hit. And
hopefully the weather will be a little bit better.
Oh my
this
gosh.
year.
Last winter rained almost every single weekend, and if it wasn't raining on the weekend, we'd gotten an inch of rain during the course of the week, and we weren't tiled. We're tiled, so everything is drier than it used to be. I think that it won't be so muddy. Poor Calvin, deja vu moment, huh, Calvin?
He's holding on. That's all right. We're going to get seat belts for him next time.
Yes, next time seat belts.
Oh, that's all right. Is this an old wagon, or is this something you bought or
goodness,
built?
this is something George built, of course. Is there anything here that George didn't build?
I don't know.
He
good
built
thing is his name isn't Jack. We'd have the house that Jack built.
That's right. No, George built this. He pretty much custom builds everything, and this box lifts right up and fits onto our sleigh runners. So he builds everything so that it is universal, so that it fits the wagons or the sleighs. And so come winter, we'll just pick this whole box right up with the spears on the tractor, and I'll go look at it after. So he'll pick this right up and he'll put it on those sleighs. And this is what we'll do our sleigh rides with this winter.
That's wonderful. We have no idea, as we're doing this in early September, no clue what the winter's going to be like, but we were talking with Dick Crawford, and he talked about the bees having their nest low this year, and you said you noticed that.
Yeah,
so.
we found a lot with our haying and stuff and working in the fields. We find that a lot of the bees' nests are close to the ground or in the ground, and that doesn't bode well. So say the old Farmer's Almanac and stuff, that we're going to have not much snow this winter, and that's not good. We need snow for sleigh rides. Not to mention, well, if you live in the North Country, obviously you pretty much like snow.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It is amazing. Yeah.
So when we get back up there, we're gonna take a little look at the.
Yeah, so the one of George's other projects was to build a covered bridge to cross over a big deep ditch we have to get to the corn maze. And he and an Amish friend of ours, not these two boys, but their older brother, started the covered bridge, I don't know, a while ago. And George has been working on it pretty steady ever since, and in amongst haying and all the other things we have to do. And the boys came back yesterday morning and they put the siding on and the tin. It's not done yet, but it certainly would be usable if we had to, but of course we got to put some few finishing touches on it, and I'd like to see a weather vane on the top of it, and you know, just the little woman side of me to
Covered
decorate.
bridges have a certain charm to them.
Right.
We
right.
used to have a lot of them in northern New York, and even more in over in the state of Vermont. We remember that horrible view of what Irene did in a covered
tragic.
bridge, went downstream in Vermont. We remembered, I took a lot of video before I ever met Calvin when they decided to take down the old covered bridge in J,
Yep.
Upper J, and so now we're going to have another one. Our friends, the Pecks up in Altona, have a little.
Oh, they have a
bridge.
great covered bridge. I love their covered bridge. I have a lot of pictures of us doing proms and weddings up there with our little buggy and the horse crossing with the buggy on the back. Yes, I love their covered bridge. And ever since I saw their covered bridge, I said to George, I want a covered bridge. Eventually down the road, we'd like to build a big enough one for a team of horses to cross over, like right here on this straightaway.
Oh.
But we started out with the little walking bridge so that people that are getting into the corn maze and stuff will have this bridge to cross over, and then we'll do a bigger one later.
And we're back at the corn maze in this beautiful covered bridge. Tell me all about how this happened.
Well, we've always wanted a covered bridge, and so George decided that this year we would build a covered bridge over this drainage ditch we have here, and cute little structure. Looks kind of old, and it's not. It's brand new. And he and an Amish friend of ours started it a few weeks ago, and the couple of younger Amish guys came and they worked on it last night and got our siding on and the roof on. So we'll just do a little bit more touch-up work this week with it, so it's ready to open this weekend. And you'll get dropped off on the other side of the covered bridge and be able to walk right directly to the corn maze. And we're going to put some little benches along both sides so that people can sit in there. Like if a parent or a grandparent came down with their kids and doesn't want to go into the maze, they can sit there and wait, and they're under shelter, not have to sit out in rain or sun or whatever.
You know, it's really nice because Calvin and I remember, and so do you and George, when there were no corn mazes here in the Northern Country. There were a lot of corn fields.
I'd never done a corn maze at that point, never.
So we've been to a couple. One of our friends started a big one, right, Calvin? That pretty good sized one.
Matt Bell.
Matt Bell.
Yep.
And we went to Matt Bell's, and his got bigger and bigger. I don't know if he did one this year or not, did he?
No, the last couple
he's
of years
done?
he hasn't. Yeah,
He's done.
he sold that piece of property, we were told, and
Oh,
so
no kidding.
yeah, he hasn't done one in a number of years, I guess. And so we just figured, you know, we do everything else agritourism wise. Why not try this and see what happens?
Now,
And
you didn't really draw a picture on graph
honestly,
paper.
there's
Come on.
George, is it down here? Our picture of our.
It's back up in the wagon.
Okay.
So up front, there's a picture of a barn. We drew this out on graph paper, and
And here it is.
And here it is.
All right, where Calvin says let's go in the maze, so we'll walk in there. We'll let Calvin.
This one right here
Yeah.
on the ground.
Alright, we're in.
We're in. Are you running? Okay, here we
We
go.
do our maze a little different than a lot of people do our maze. I won't tell you everything. We do a little bit differently, but the one thing that we have tried to do over the years is instead of a 60-foot span where people have this big area, we try to keep it more narrow and confined. We've asked, a lot of people have been through the maze, what do you think about the more narrow passageway? And they love this narrow passageway where they get brushed by the corn and not a 5-foot opening to walk through. And people have given us good reviews about this, so we'll see what happens this year. But yeah, this is the shape of the barn, and right now we're headed up the side. Well, we're actually headed to the peak of the barn roof right now. This much I do know. It's when you decide to go into the barn that confuses me, because there's passageways and doors and I typically hit dead ends, and it's a nightmare for me.
You really don't cry and scream out loud,
Oh
huh?
no, I don't. No,
Yeah.
I just turn around and figure, well, I got
Look what
lost.
Calvin did.
So Calvin obviously hit the first dead end, and
The parents will have to hold on to their little kids' hands because they'll be literally wandering through the maze.
well, we wondered if we should put the caution tape to keep you on the straight and narrow, and we would hope that we don't have to, but we don't know that for a fact yet. We may
Well,
have
you'll
to.
find out.
We'll find out if somebody comes up and complains that their kid is lost. We may have to figure that we'll have to.
We could put beepers on the kids.
We could.
It's amazing. But how was the corn this year?
The corn is nice. Almost every stalk has 2 ears of corn. Some only have one. We had to use a different variety of corn this year. I wasn't overly thrilled with the variety that they offered me this year. I'm not so sure that it's the variety so much as it was the dry conditions.
A lot of dryness, yeah.
And so I'm not going to knock the variety of corn that I had to buy this year. We'll know when we go to harvest the corn whether it was worth it this year to plant this variety. But they quit selling the variety that I was accustomed to planting, and I'm not really sure why.
Really?
So as we come through the corn maze, when George and I
She's
are any of our
blazing.
workers-
She's blazing a trail, folks.
We blaze the trail, and this is how we blaze the trail. And we'll do this several more times before we open, because this wasn't a problem the other day when we were in here, but this rain, the almost 3 inches of rain we got the other day, really caused
A growth
this corn.
spurt, huh?
Yes, it did cause it to grow and the leaves to fill out. And so the other day I had all of these, as you can see, the leaves were broke down. But the rain we had, obviously this corn really enjoyed it. So we come in, we blaze a trail through here like such. And of course we're still fairly old fashioned. We don't do this with a GPS or anything like that. We are out here pulling out the plants that we don't want. And
Now, how did you lay out the barn and stuff on before you planted the corn?
well, what we did was we saw a picture. I saw a barn drawing on the internet that I liked, that I was able to transfer onto a piece of graph paper.
Oh,
And that was the start of our design. We tweaked the design a little bit because we needed it to fit in a space that wasn't exact for our property layout.
yeah.
But we managed and got it on there. And so if we had an aerial view, which we do not, but if we had an aerial view, you would probably see most of the barn. I can see a lot of the barn from up above.
Oh, you can?
If I'm standing on Goat Mountain at the top, I can see some of this trail in here. But like I say, most people's corn maze is much wider than this, and so we're working in a much more narrow confine, which doesn't let us see it quite as well as some aerial views of other people's corn maze.
Well, you're just going to have to hire a small plane or a helicopter. Oh, we got a maul and a crowbar
Well,
here.
this is where George was putting in some signs, and of course, as you can see the other day, the ground was so dry that we had to put water in the hole as we would open the hole up to put a sign in.
Oh,
And we just put funny signs in here that say you're lost or you're here, which way.
you'll never go home again.
Yeah, all kinds of funny little things. So that's what we're working on now. We've got till Friday to get the signs in, and so we'll just keep puttering with getting our
You know
signs.
when Friday is, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
tomorrow.
I get a little stressed
Huh?
about it, but I think.
Where are you going?
Well, have you already been down here?
Where are we heading?
I don't know.
Calvin's lost.
Calvin, are you lost? Because I don't know.
Okay.
If you think I'm kidding about not,
Okay, I got to catch up to you with a microphone.
Oh,
I know you're talking. Okay, go ahead.
I'm really not kidding. I have not found my way successfully out of here. So at some point,
I can see the tree line.
so this is the back side of the barn. Of course, we're coming down the peak of the roof right now, the other side of the barn.
Yep.
And now I think this is going to be the outside wall. of the barn.
How long will the kids and families spend in the maze, do you think?
Well, you know what's funny? I've not found my way out of this successfully, and I don't even know if I will be successful now or if someone here will have to take the lead. But the other night,
There is nobody here who knows the way, so you're it, baby.
we let 2 little kids come in here the other day, and within 10 minutes they were out, and we're like, okay.
Really?
You did not follow the maze. We sent a family in the other day as our guinea pigs, and 35 to 40 minutes later, they came out and they're like, okay, that's a nightmare. We're not doing that again.
Oh,
We
really?
couldn't find our way out. They were just kidding, of course, but
We're going back into the interior.
I think this is going to be a doorway now, or we're into a door, I believe.
I'll take your word for it.
I don't know this for a fact. I mean,
I'm going under protest there.
you're going under protest, Calvin?
Yep.
Do you think I'm straying you wrong?
Back where we came from.
We're back where we came from?
We're heading in that direction.
Well, okay. I don't think we've been down this way.
We're going this way
But
anyway.
we're going this way. But somebody's been walking in here. That could be us. I don't know that. I don't remember being here.
Ha 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 ha.
See, when we get all of our signage up, then I'll learn to recognize a sign and I'll say, oh yeah, we have been here. Of course, we all heard about the woman last year who got lost in a corn maze and called 911, when in fact she was like 10 feet from the exit.
Yeah, I heard that.
We're hoping that doesn't happen. And what we intend to do is when we send people in here, give them a basic printout of the design of the corn maze and the phone number to the shop, so that if they get lost, they'll call us instead of 911 on a piece of paper.
Hopefully there won't be any ambulances heading down here.
Right, and that way there we can come in here and say, okay, here's how you get out of this mess. So
We're going to the other end of the barn.
I think we're headed to the end. Well, to the end of the barn, but then we still have to get back over to that direction.
Okay. Calvin agrees with
You
you.
doing
He's,
okay?
he's chuckling.
You doing all right back there, Calvin?
He doesn't think
Protesting.
he's still protesting. He thinks you're all wet.
You do? You want me to head right here?
I don't care. Go where you want.
Okay, we're turning right.
We're going back into the interior.
That would be funny if I had to call George to come and get us out of here.
Well, we needed a little exercise anyway.
Well, Calvin, you protested, and you were right to protest because we're at a dead end. And actually, the coons have found this spot here, and obviously, as we can see, the coons were loving this.
Isn't that amazing?
Somebody called me this summer and wanted to know how we keep deer out of our corn maze. And we said, well, we don't have a deer problem. And I think the woman thought I was lying. And I said, we really don't have a deer problem. We have deer here, but not a problem with deer in our corn maze. And but as you can see, we have coons back here.
Raccoons. Oh,
And
boy.
they are loving this corn.
Oh,
And
boy.
and you know, the funny thing is, I've lived here for 19 years and I've seen a lot of deer. I've never seen a raccoon here, but we see the remnants of their mess.
They come in the dark of the night and
They come in dark of the night
their
and they
duty.
do this destruction, and they break the corn down. They eat it, and you know, it'd be this one here looks like they've taken all the corn off and it's begun to mold, but it's random. Like they break it down, take a few bites off that ear, go down, break another one, take a couple. It's not like they take one whole cob and
amazing.
eat the thing. Can you just see them in here at night tee-heeing and ha-haing about the mayhem they're causing, and so.
It's amazing. All right, let's turn around.
Yeah, amazing is right. Amazing.
Let's turn around and get out of
All
the
right,
maze.
we're gonna head.
Okay, we're back again.
Well, after I ran them all astray,
That's perfectly all right.
now we're gonna try to find the exit. Because when I said I can't find my way out of here, I wasn't kidding.
Well, yeah, after this, you'll be able to tell people it only took me 3 days, 4 hours, and 12 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. When I become a permanent prop in here because I've turned into a
Uh,
skeleton.
then you can hold the sign saying this way out.
That's right. Well, we're gonna take a chance here. And of course, more coon destruction.
Look at this. Yeah, that's amazing.
wisdom, Calvin. Are you having the best?
He's still chuckling.
I'm sure it is funny to watch the person who helped design this crazy thing be in total darkness about how I get out of here.
At least it's not going to be muddy this year with any luck at all.
No.
Of course, we got a lot of weeks until the end of the season.
All right, I think we have no choice but to go up this way. Sorry, guys.
Okay, I'm following. Whoops.
Did you expect to come into a corn maze with a
Yeah, I know you. I know you.
Or
This is all. You're making this all up as you go along. You know the way.
I don't know the way. Oh my gosh. George!
Yeah, he's gone home.
Yeah, he said that.
He's laughing already. He thinks it's hilarious.
Probably is thinking it's hilarious. I'm not. Oh my goodness.
Boy, you got some tall ones here. There's some that are 9 or 10 feet tall.
All right, Calvin. Oh. Well, we'll try this way.
Okay, whoops. We had a dog almost took me for a ride.
Oh, don't let that happen.
Well, I placed an emergency call to Waldo. He told us where he was.
We needed the GPS to get out of here.
And here we are. George is waiting patiently. We did holler to him, like we're trying to put an echo off the sideboards on the wagon. He says, "You're on your own.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything to help you. You're on your own."
No sympathy for us lost.
And the dog didn't help at all. The dog
No.
was actually smiling.
Yeah, the dogs think this is funny.
The way out.
Uh-huh. I think the dog knows the way. I think you're right there. Well, the sky's getting a little darker. Yeah. It is, huh?
One way or another, we're out.
All right. Let's wrap up the corn maze, and then we'll do the end of the program as soon as we get back home. Well, I said once upon a time, and now I'm going to have to end this with happily ever after or something like that. A long time ago, it was a dream. It was a country dream, and it became Country Dreams Farm. I don't know about you guys, but it's just a big kick for me to come back here time after time and see you folks. And yes, we talk about no coincidences. How many different times have we run into each other when we least expected it?
Crazy things.
On the
All the
street,
time.
in the store,
Yes.
no matter what it happens, there we are.
Yes.
So it's Providence that brought us back here today, and Calvin who wrote it on the calendar. So we
So we had to go
we did
for
come
it.
back in 2012 in early September.
You'll
And,
have to forgive me, Gordy. It looks like you were lost in a cornfield. You're all covered with corn stuff. and-
well, you see, we had to, it was called a breakout. We were in jail. Melissa said, "Let's go this way."
you had the perfect guide, I see.
Yeah, that only made it, the experience and the adventure, a lot more fun.
If you're lost in this corn maze, don't ask me how to get out of
I
it.
love
No.
it. Yeah, we'll leave you there to direction. Just
'cause
point in every
The
direction.
turkey
at the same-
buzzards will be cleaning your remains up later because I won't be able to get you out of it.
I love it. We're Country Dreams Farm. What's the address on the Pellerin Road number?
260.
260 Pellerin Road. Plug that into your GPS and get here. We're doing this in early September, but you're going to be open on weekends starting this weekend,
Yep.
right into the end of October,
Right
maybe?
to the end of October.
And
Yep.
you'll be open Saturdays and Sundays.
Friday nights a little bit,
Friday
Saturdays
night.
and Sundays from 10 to dusk, and then the last 2 Saturdays in October we're going to do a fright night and bonfire and s'mores and that kind of stuff, and those will be till 10 o'clock or so.
Wherever you're watching this program, whether it be here or at the ends of the earth, log on to Country Dreams Farm Facebook site and the website.
Yeah.
You'll see a plethora of photographs, wonderful pictures of just about everything you've ever done. And that's
Yeah.
a good thing.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
the good things we've done.
Yeah, you've done a lot of good things. Like I said before, every dream has its frustrations along the way.
Oh, yeah.
There are a few nightmares that creep in, but you know what? You're here today.
That's right.
You're here in 2012.
we're still here.
And you're still doing
And
it.
by and large, it's been a fun run. I mean, there's always setbacks. Certainly, the death of a prized horse kills us and makes us
Any
vow to
horse.
not do it again.
Any horse,
but
yeah.
then we get back into the swing of things, and but then there's the birth of baby goats and a new horse or something, and that
New
snacks
beginnings,
us- yes.
endings and beginnings.
Yes.
That's what it's
Absolutely.
all about.
Yep,
Life
so-
goes in chapters, doesn't it,
Yep.
George?
It
Surely
does.
does.
Who knows what's going to be there when we turn the page?
Absolutely.
Who knew we were going to see the end of the Goat Mountain as a new ramp got built
Yeah,
today?
actually, you
You
saw
were
it
the
as soon
first
as I
ones.
saw it, so that was
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
And
Yes.
that'll be on history, and our friends can watch this. No matter where they are, they can watch it on their local cable systems locally, but they can also watch it at hometowncablenetwork.com and plattsburgh.com on the internet around the world. Thousands of these programs that Calvin has done and hundreds that I've done with him since 1997 are available for people to watch. Thank you both for
Oh,
inviting us
it's
here
always
again.
it's always a
great-
pleasure.
You guys
know,
are more than welcome anytime.
You define dear friends.
Well, I'm
Don't
glad,
you ever,
because you-
ever forget it.
Because
I
that's how
like
we
hearing
describe
that.
you guys as dear friends. When we're out in public and somebody says they know you, we're like, oh, wow. And so,
We saw you dragging that barn down the turnpike.
yeah. Or we saw Calvin take a tip over backwards on
Yeah,
your
that too.
wagon. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we hear that one a lot.
I wanna
That's our
th-
most popular one.
I want to thank all of our viewers, wherever you are, for your comments and your great suggestions. A lot of people tell us where to go. I'm not sure how I...
They tell me where to go quite often, but
So thank you so much for your suggestions and your comments. We'd love to have you tell us where you think we should go to do a program at some point in the future. I want to tell all of our viewers that the only way this program can continue is by your financial support. So if you could possibly write a check, send it to Calvin Castine in care of Hometown Cable. Write our little corner on there if you want to. That's the name of the program, and mail it to the Ridge Road in Champlain, because you know gas gets expensive, and when we travel to Champlain and Cucamonga and Churubusco and you don't need sunglasses.
Well, you never know. I might.
Thank you so much for watching the show. Thanks for everything you do, folks, because you make it all possible by caring about this program. And the way we always end it is, who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.